Hi, I'm Sky. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. One click from you means more stories can be shared. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers and make a difference. Let's begin. You don't look sick to me, Morgan said, leaning against my hospital room doorframe with that smile that never reached her eyes. Jake's worried sick, but I told him you were probably just being dramatic again. I adjusted my IV line, wincing at the pain shooting through my abdomen. Thanks for the support, Morgan. Really feeling the family love right now. That's what sisters are for, right? She walked in uninvited, her designer heels clicking against the linoleum floor. Though technically, I'm just your sister-in-law. A distinction you never let me forget, I muttered. My brother Jake had married Morgan 3 years ago, and since day one, she'd made it clear that she considered me a threat to her perfect family picture. I never understood why. I loved my brother and wanted him to be happy, but Morgan saw enemies everywhere, especially in me. Anyway, she said, scrolling through her phone, barely looking at me. I'm heading to the nurse's station to update your emergency contact information. Jake's too emotional to handle these things properly. I already updated everything when I was admitted, I said. Thomas is my primary contact. Her face tightened at the mention of my boyfriend. Thomas? That guy you've been dating for what, 6 months? Jake is your family, Sky. Thomas is my family too, I insisted. And it's been a year. Whatever. She waved dismissively. I work with hospital systems all the time at my job. Trust me, they probably entered your information wrong. I'll fix it. Before I could protest, she was gone. I didn't think much of it then. How could I know that her casual exit was the beginning of a nightmare that would nearly cost me my life? The next morning, Dr. Carter came in with my chart. He was young for a surgeon, but his reputation was stellar. How are you feeling today, Sky? He asked, checking my vitals. Like someone's using my appendix as a stress ball, I replied with a weak smile. Well, we're going to take care of that. I've scheduled your surgery for tomorrow morning. We'll remove that angry appendix before it causes any more trouble. Nurse Patel entered with a clipboard. Dr. Carter, can I speak with you for a moment? They stepped just outside the door, but I could still hear their hushed conversation. There seems to be a discrepancy in her records, Nurse Patel said. The blood type in her current file doesn't match her previous records. Are you sure? What does it say now? Current record shows B negative, but her previous visits all indicate a positive. That's concerning. Let's run a new blood typing test immediately. They returned, and Dr. Carter's face had shifted to professional concern. Sky, we need to do a quick blood test. There seems to be some confusion in your records. Is everything okay? I asked. Just a precaution, he assured me. We like to be thorough before surgery. Nurse Patel drew my blood, and within an hour, Dr. Carter returned looking troubled. Your blood type is A positive, he confirmed. But someone changed it to B negative in our current system. If we hadn't caught this and given you B negative blood during surgery, you could have had a severe transfusion reaction. My stomach dropped. How could that happen? System errors occur, but this is unusual. The change was made yesterday from a terminal at the nurse's station. We're investigating. Thomas arrived shortly after, his face lined with worry. He'd taken time off from his IT job to be with me. Hey, you okay? He asked, kissing my forehead. You look even paler than yesterday. Someone changed my blood type in the hospital records, I told him. If they hadn't double-checked, I could have died during surgery. His face darkened. What? How is that possible? I don't know, but a thought struck me. Morgan was here yesterday. She insisted on fixing my contact information. Thomas sat down, his expression serious. Your brother's wife? Why would she do that? She's always hated me. But this is different. This is attempted murder, Sky. Let's not jump to conclusions, I said, though the pieces were already aligning in my mind. It could be a coincidence. You don't believe that, Thomas said quietly. I didn't. After my successful surgery, Jake visited. He looked haggard, unshaven. "You scared me," he said, hugging me gently. "I'm fine now," I assured him. "Morgan wanted to come, but she caught some bug. She's been throwing up all morning." "How convenient," I murmured. "What's that supposed to mean?" Jake asked, frowning. I hesitated. "Jake, something happened before my surgery." I explained about the blood type change. His face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and then defensiveness. "And you think Morgan did this?" "That's insane, Sky. She's a healthcare administrator. She knows better than anyone how dangerous that would be." "That's exactly my point. She knew exactly what she was doing." "You've never given her a chance," Jake argued. "Ever since we got married, you've been cold to her." "I've been cold?" "Jake, she's been undermining me for years. Remember when she accidentally deleted all my wedding planning emails? Or when she told your in-laws I was a recovering addict? She apologized for those things. They were misunderstandings." I shook my head. "This wasn't a misunderstanding. Someone deliberately changed information that could have killed me. And you have proof it was Morgan?" "The timing is circumstantial," Jake interrupted. "I can't believe you'd accuse my wife of attempted murder without any evidence. I thought the painkillers might be making you paranoid, but this is too much." He left in anger, and I lay there seething. I knew Morgan was behind this, but Jake was right about one thing. I needed proof. 3 days later, I was discharged. Thomas picked me up, his car filled with flowers and a welcome home balloon. "You didn't have to do all this," I said, touched. "Oh, I did," he replied with a grin. "Also, I've been busy while you were recovering." "Busy how?" He handed me his tablet. "I called in some favors from a friend who works in cybersecurity. The hospital's investigating the incident internally, but they're moving slowly." I looked at the screen. It showed a log of system access, timestamps, and user IDs. "What am I looking at?" "The access log for the hospital database on the day your records were changed. See this entry? Someone logged in using Nurse Reynolds' credentials at 3:42 p.m. when Nurse Reynolds was assisting in surgery on another floor. The login happened at the exact nurse's station terminal near your room." My heart raced. That was right after Morgan visited me. "There's more," Thomas continued. "The same credentials were used to access only your medical records, then change your blood type and nothing else. No other patients were affected. But we still can't prove it was Morgan." "No, but we know it wasn't Nurse Reynolds. And I did some checking into your sister-in-law's background." "What did you find?" "Before she became a healthcare administrator, she worked as a nurse at Memorial Hospital. Guess who her supervisor was? Nurse Reynolds. They've known each other for years." I stared at him. "You think Morgan still has Reynolds' login information? Or knows enough about her to guess her password? Either way, it's too much coincidence." I thought for a moment. This is good, but not enough to convince Jake. He'll just think I'm trying to sabotage his marriage. "So what do you want to do?" I smiled grimly. "Set a trap." My plan was simple but effective. I asked Thomas to spread a rumor through his hospital contacts that I was considering a lawsuit against the hospital for negligence. It wasn't true, but I knew it would reach Morgan. Then I texted Jake. "Can we talk? No accusations, I promise. I'm still recovering and would appreciate some family support." Jake agreed to dinner at my place that weekend. As expected, he brought Morgan. "Your place looks cozy," Morgan said with a thin smile, looking around my modest apartment. "Thanks for coming," I said warmly. "I'm making real progress in my recovery." Thomas emerged from the kitchen with drinks. "Morgan, Jake, good to see you both." Morgan barely acknowledged him. "Jake says you wanted to talk, Sky?" "Yes, but let's eat first." I made Jake's favorite, Mom's lasagna recipe. Throughout dinner, I kept the conversation light, watching Morgan grow increasingly tense. Finally, as Thomas served coffee, I made my move. "I heard from my doctor today," I said casually. "They've completed their internal investigation into my records being changed." Morgan's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. "Oh?" "Apparently they have security cameras at all the nurses' stations now. Part of their new safety protocols. Morgan's face drained of color. I didn't know that, she said, her voice unnaturally high. Yes, they're quite discreet. The footage clearly shows who accessed the terminal when my blood type was changed. Morgan set down her cup with a clatter. I should use your bathroom. It's down the hall, I said pleasantly. The moment she was gone, Jake turned to me. What's going on? You said no accusations. I'm not accusing anyone, I replied innocently. I'm just sharing what the hospital told me. Morgan returned quickly, her composure partially restored. We should go, Jake. I'm not feeling well. But we haven't had dessert, I protested. Another time, Morgan insisted, already collecting her purse. As they prepared to leave, I played my final card. Oh, Morgan, before you go, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. What? She snapped. How did you know my blood type was a positive? I never mentioned it during your hospital visit. She froze. I don't know your blood type. That's strange because according to my phone records, you texted Jake 3 weeks ago asking if I was still A positive like him, claiming it was for a family medical history form. Jake looked at his wife in confusion. You did ask me that. You said it was for your company's health insurance. Morgan's face contorted. She's twisting everything. She's always trying to come between us. I have the text, Morgan, Jake said quietly. Why would you need to know Sky's blood type for our health insurance? It was just a routine question. And the hospital visit? The nurse's station? I pressed. I was helping. By changing my blood type to one that could have killed me if they'd given me a transfusion? You can't prove anything, she shouted. The room fell silent. Jake stared at his wife in horror. I didn't say anyone changed my blood type intentionally, I said softly. Just that there was footage of who used the terminal. Morgan realized her mistake too late. Her eyes darted between Jake and me. Jake, she's manipulating you, she tried. She's always been jealous of us. But Jake was already backing away from her. There are no security cameras at the nurses' stations, are there, Sky? I shook my head. No, but Morgan didn't know that. You tricked me, Morgan hissed. No, I gave you rope and you hung yourself, I replied. There's no footage, but there are system logs showing someone used Nurse Reynolds' credentials, your former supervisor, to access only my records and change only my blood type. Nothing else. Jake looked devastated. Why, Morgan? She's my sister. She's always been your priority, Morgan shouted. Even on our wedding day, all you talked about was how proud you were of her new job. It's always Sky this, Sky that. So you tried to kill me? I asked incredulously. I didn't think they'd actually give you the wrong blood, Morgan cried. I just wanted to scare you, make you realize how vulnerable you are, to get you to back off and stop monopolizing Jake's attention. Jake had heard enough. I'm calling the police. Jake, please, I'm your wife. And she's my sister who you nearly killed out of jealousy. While Jake made the call, Morgan collapsed into a chair, sobbing. I felt no sympathy. You know what's ironic, Morgan? I said quietly. If you'd succeeded, Jake would have been devastated. He would have needed his wife's support more than ever. You might have finally had him all to yourself. Instead, you've lost him completely. 6 months later, I sat across from Jake at our favorite cafe. He looked better than he had in years. Morgan's sentencing is next week, he said. Her lawyer says with the plea deal, she'll serve at least 2 years. Good, I replied. She nearly killed me. 2 years seems light. The attempted murder charge was hard to prove definitively, but the unauthorized access to medical records and reckless endangerment stuck. I nodded. And how are you doing with the divorce? Finalizing next month. The judge wasn't sympathetic to her after the criminal charges. He paused. I'm sorry, Sky. I should have seen who she really was. Love blinds us sometimes, I said. But you believed me when it counted. Thomas joined us, kissing me before sitting down. Sorry I'm late. Meeting ran over. We were just discussing Morgan's sentencing, I explained. I heard she lost her healthcare administrator license too. Thomas added. And no hospital will hire her with that record. Her family's also cut her off, Jake said. Apparently, they're mortified by the scandal. She's lost everything. I should have felt vindication, but mostly I felt relief. Morgan was out of our lives, facing the consequences of her actions. No forgiveness, no reconciliation, just justice. We're thinking of moving to Boston, I told Jake, changing the subject. Thomas got a job offer there, and I can transfer with my company. That's great, Jake said, though I could see the concern in his eyes. But that's pretty far. We'll visit, I promised. And you can come see us. No jealous wife to stop you anymore. True? He laughed, then grew serious. I'm just glad you're okay. When I think about what could have happened. But it didn't, I reassured him. I'm still here. Morgan's paying for what she did, and we're all moving forward. As we left the cafe, walking together in the autumn sunshine, I realized that the greatest revenge wasn't Morgan's punishment. It was living well, surrounded by people who truly loved me, while she sat alone in a cell, left with nothing but her bitterness and jealousy. You know, Thomas said, taking my hand. In a weird way, we should thank Morgan. Thank her? For almost killing me? For bringing us closer together. For showing Jake who she really was before she could do worse damage. Sometimes toxic people end up strengthening the bonds between everyone else. I smiled at him, then at my brother. I never thought of it that way. I guess every villain creates their own downfall in the end. Jake nodded. So what do you think, guys? If you could go back in time and give your past self one warning about the toxic people in your life, what would it be? What signs should you have seen sooner?